Hey everyone, so here is my thoughts and opinions on the newer iPad Pro with the M5 versus the iPad 10, which is now a few years old, a couple years old. So of course the big difference here is going to be the pricing on it. This is the 11-inch version of the Pro. This is 10.9 inches. This is starting at $1,000. This was about $350 or so dollars, 300, somewhere around 350 bucks. Give or take. Right now it is on sale for less than $300 at Best Buy if you can still find one. So there is about, this is about 3 times the price of the 10. So of course that is very important when we're talking throughout this video, so keep that in mind. Then there is, again, 11-inch versus 10.9 inches here. The biggest difference, there is a little bit of difference in physical dimensions all around. And there's a little bit of difference in height, width, and then in depth as well. But when they're side by side, it's very hard to even tell that, especially if they're not side by side. You only had one of them in your hands, you wouldn't really be able to tell that. But hopefully you guys can tell in this video though, how much bigger the bezels are on the 10 than they are on the Pro here. They are, I'd say almost double the thickness on the 10 than they are on the Pro. How much that means to people, you guys let me know. All right, so let's get on out of that. Now let's talk about the display a bit. Of course, the Pro has what's supposed to be a better display, but there are times when I actually really like the 10's display better. I'm going to go onto this Amazon page we have here, and this is what I mean. So right now I have True Tone turned off. I personally don't really like True Tone. To me, it makes the whites look more yellow than they should, if you ask me. But again, that's my own thoughts and opinions. That's just in general. If we look at like this page here on Amazon, I personally like the iPad 10 look better. To me, again, the whites actually look very, very white. Whereas to me, with the Pro, they look more yellow. But what's crazy to me is if we go onto this picture here, you guys can hopefully tell in this video the difference in coloration on the Apple Watch Ultras, especially the banding. The body itself looks different as well. Again, this looks more yellowy, this looks more silvery. But if you guys look at the band itself, they look like completely different colors. On the Pro, this looks more like a green blue, whereas on the 10, it just looks blue. You guys let me know what you think on that. If we go over to this one, again, you guys can hopefully tell there's a giant difference in colors on these two iPads. Like even just this coloring here, the blacks look so different. The picture itself, like on the Pro, again, to me it looks more yellowy, whereas on the 10 it looks more gray, gray and white. Again, you guys let me know what you think. I think both displays are very good, but I almost prefer the 10s over the Pros. You guys let me know what you think though. All right, then let's talk about some gaming here. We're just gonna go into Pokemon Unite. And this is where I found a pretty big difference between these two. Again, of course, you have a few-year-old processor, and actually quite a few-year-old processor in it. Here we have the A14 processor. Sorry, again, so here we have the A14 processor versus the M5 chip. So there is a big difference in power here. So we're just gonna go into offline mode here on Pokemon Unite, which basically means it should be using the power from the iPads and not anything to do with the Wi-Fi or anything like that. So we go into offline mode, we click on both of this at the same time. You can see, of course, the Pro is gonna load in faster. But we'll just go ahead and use Charizard. We'll go ahead and hit start on both of these. So you can see the loading in, how much faster it loads in on the Pro. And then once you're in, you should be pretty much hitting around 60 frames per second on both of them. They're both actually hitting about the same. So again, around 60 frames per second. And if we do any moves, you're not going to have any issues. It's just the loading into each, here we go. Just the loading into each game. The Pro is going to load in faster, but of course, if you have iPad 10, you're probably going to be loading in faster than 90% of people that are playing the game anyway. So it seems like most people play with other devices. All right, then we'll do a heavier game here. We're going to Fortnite. And let's see how these two do here. Again, of course, the Pro is going to be faster, as it should be, with a device that costs 3 to 4 times the price of the 10 or more. And this is probably where you're going to notice the biggest difference is going to be in gaming on these devices, especially if you were going to the games themselves. I was doing some Fortnite with the 10, and it is decent, but you can definitely tell there is some lag on it. At times, it just doesn't load in as fast, whereas the Pro should be a lot better at pretty much anything with that M5 crazy powerful chip that's in it. Talking about Roblox, I know a lot of people will buy iPads for Roblox for their kids or for themselves or for whatever. Both of these will be just fine for Roblox. I mean, they're both very powerful devices considering, and you'll be able to hit 60 frames per second on either of these two devices. I'm not going to show that off. If you guys want to see that, let me know. I'll make a separate video doing a comparison between them. I'll probably end up doing that anyway. But they'll both be able to play Roblox in 60 frames per second in max graphics. You really shouldn't have issues playing Roblox. Next, we'll do a bit of a speaker comparison here. Of course, the Pro is going to be better. So with the Pro, you have 2 speakers on either side for a total of 4 speakers. Whereas with the 10, you only get dual speakers. So at least it is still stereo. Better than the iPad 9. They have them both on the same side, which is kind of weird. So we're starting out here with the Pro. Both will be on max volume. And switching over to the 10. I do need to mention here, it does look like the 10 does have 4 speakers. Not all of them actually work. The ones that are working are actually on the bottom here. Point to the wrong ones. But they are the ones that are down. Look at all these. The ones that are down here, the ones on these two do not actually work. They're not actual speakers. They're just look to be speakers. And if you're going to be doing like more or less basic things like Facebook, social media in general, they're both going to be very similar. There you go. I went ahead and switch them back. This is the 10. Again, this is the Pro. But what I was saying, though, they're going to be very, very similar. There's not going to be a whole lot of difference on basic things like social media. I mean, you're not going to have any issues with them playing videos or whatever. People are doing crazy stuff. I mean, if we're going to like Duolingo, again, like the Pro should pretty much load in a bit faster, but that is really about it. Gracias. And even then, it's not going to be by a whole lot. If you're, again, just talking about basic things, we go into like reading here. Again, it is faster. Again, with the displays, they look so different. It is kind of crazy how different the colors and everything are. But if we're just talking about reading them, of course, this one's in dark mode. This one's not in dark mode. It's in light mode or whatever it's called. But I mean, you guys can see though, they both look really good. But you're not going to have difficulties with reading on either of these. Again, there is a small difference in screen size, 11 inches versus 10.9. Biggest part of that is going to be the bezels. Overall, these are both very fantastic devices. You guys can let me know which one you prefer. I think, though, if you just want a device that is still powerful, it's still a very good device, a very good tablet for pretty much anything, iPad 10 is still a good choice, or, of course, the new iPad 11, which is a little bit more money, but you might not be able to find these new anymore, but if you find them on Facebook or whatever, of course, the 11 will be a bit better than this even. But I think the Pro is going to be mostly for people that want the best of the best for iPads and who wants to be like high-end gaming and be able to load into everything super fast and be able to pretty much do whatever they want to do the fastest they can do it, in the most extreme way they can do it. The Pro is going to be definitely best for that, are going to be better for that. But I think both of these will be good for pretty much anybody's use. It's just, again, do you want the most powerful, the best, the fastest iPad, or do you want something that is a third, the fourth, the price, and is still very, very good? Again, you guys let me know what you think. I think both of these are excellent. Yeah, hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.